A quick bit of news on Tom King's books over at DC. We have Strange Adventures, which of course launched and has a couple issues out, but is now moving to a different schedule. And we have the long-awaited and long-delayed Batman Catwoman book. What's going on with that? Let's discuss it. Hey, everybody, this is Perch. A few bits of information coming out of DC, mainly concerning Tom King, but we'll hit a couple other items as well. First off, there's been this Batman Catwoman book, which really was supposed to launch initially at the start of the year, but it's been long delayed. There was some art backups with Clay Mann and or some time constraints with Tom King. It was never quite sure where exactly the delay was coming from. Tom King did post on Twitter that we wanted the series to go straight through with Clay Mann and not have interruptions, and I'm completely on board with that. So that reason was given, and I think that was a wise choice on their hand. But then the pandemic started, and so the schedule of trying to start in February was interrupted, and so it still hasn't gotten back on the table again. That has been put out. So we did get to see kind of a glimpse of this new status quo in the Catwoman anniversary issue, which revealed that Catwoman was pregnant with Batman's baby in the future. And the question became, so how, now that this book is delayed, where exactly does it fit with DC continuity, and how does it kind of match into what James Tynion IV has been doing, as he's been pushing the title aggressively in another direction? And Tynion basically stating a lot lately about how he has a lot of long-term plans. He's not going anywhere from the pages of Batman. He's got a lot of, very big plans for his story. So he was asked about Batman Catwoman, and he gave a pretty succinct, very honest, upfront answer, which was nice, that Batman Catwoman will not exist in really current continuity. It's outside of the bounds of what's going on with DC, and so he doesn't have to link to it and won't link to it, and it's unclear kind of where it fits. And then he compared it to the three Jokers, which are kind of outside of his purview. It's not something he's worrying about connecting. Now, I want to pause here for a minute and say DC claims that with death metal and everything else that they are going to be tying a bunch of these stories in together. So where does it all fit? Where that's concerned, that's a good story, or a good question. Is DC going to try and tie these things together? Are they going to continue to have things on the outside? I think the answer to that we all know, which is they're going to continue to have Elseworlds out of continuity stories, and no matter what we try and do to kind of make sense of it all in a storyline, like a crisis or a death metal or whatever it happens to be, things are going to continue to exist outside the bubble, and that's not a bad thing. It's one of those things we've read about a lot in comics, but really, maybe doesn't matter terribly in when all's said and done. I mean, readers just want good stories. So we are, so anyway, so this book is still coming. It's not been solicited. It's somewhere probably around, it's not going to be in September, so maybe October, November, we could see where this would go. But this will be kind of the continuation of his run, splintered off in a different direction. The other bit of news on his work is Strange Adventures is going to move to a bi-monthly, every other month schedule. Not a reason has been given. Some have speculated that, again, there's some art delays and other things, but basically, this book is going to every other month. It's definitely lost some momentum with like all books have. This has nothing to do with Tom King. All books with the pandemic that were in the middle of their storylines are having to kind of pick themselves back up again. We will get issue 2 finally here next week on the 16th, and then issue 3 on July, issue 4 in August, issue 5 September. And that's at least the current schedule. Now, whether or not this bi-monthly move will move things out faster, further, it's hard to say. There's been, DC has a big portion of Black Label titles already in there. The Joker Harley series, Hellblazer, the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey book, the Wonder Woman Dead Earth book, and the Question book are all in this bi-monthly format. Feels like the 80s again of having a big part of your line be bi-monthly, or at least a part. But other than that, that's the big Tom King news. The other stuff coming out of DC, that Shazam's title is ending in September. That basically we're getting some, and in the death metal video I mentioned yesterday that there would likely be some crossovers that haven't been announced yet. Well, now we know Justice League is going to firmly crossover in there. We've got a really nice cover by Liam Sharp, and Flash writer Joshua Williamson will be taking over Justice League in September, and we'll do a 5-part tie-in to death metal called Doom Metal, with a little, it looks like the Legion of Doom, Nightwing is on a mission to free the Legion of Doom for Perpetua's clutches, but to do so, he'll need to team up with Lex Luthor to do it. So we're getting a new Justice League must fight its way through an Earth that's been twisted by the dark multiverse and directly impact the finale of the event. It is promising. So an important, very important spinoff. Curious that. So here's one warning sign a little bit for DC is that they've had some extra time to plan. Scott Snyder's been doing some meticulous planning with other writers. We've heard. But these announcements still seem a little half-baked in the sense that they're not coming out consistently and cleanly. We just had some announcements around death metal yesterday, and then one day later, we're getting some solicitations. And here's both a 5-part event, 5-part crossover, which is significant. The entire death metal is 7 issues, so a 5-part crossover is a pretty big addition. And it's supposed to directly hit the finale of death metal. So it's a big deal. This would have been good information to throw out yesterday when you're putting this stuff out. But be that as it may, it is comics after all. So what do you think about all this? Tom King's book moving into an Elseworlds type format. The news on more bi-monthly books, death metal, and everything else. Let me know your comments below. Like, subscribe, get the information out to your friends. Happy to kind of provide the news, some analysis, some basics. Here's what's going on to you. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.